Hi everyone. I have over 17 years of IT experience, and currently I'm working in one of the Indian MNCs. I have been working in Siebel CRM projects for almost 15 years. So I've worked in different versions of Siebel CRM. So before proceeding ahead with what all these versions and all, I'd like to tell something about what we have as a part of this whole curriculum. And the next thing which I would like to or talk about or brief about is about this session that we have today, which is basically about Siebel CRM, an overview of the Siebel CRM architecture. So before actually proceeding ahead with what Siebel CRM architecture is, I would like to tell you what is CRM. CRM is basically customer relationship management. What is CRM? When you say customer relationship management, let's take a simple example. Like if you go to a market and if we buy product and we just say thank you. So the next time when we go to the same market and buy another product from the same market, then the shopkeeper himself recognizes this person and says, "Hi sir, how are you? How are you doing?" So these are the kind of relationships that we actually maintain between a customer and actually the service provider. So in a broader term, customer relationship management is how you manage your customers or clients. So there are different CRM products in the market, but I would say Siebel CRM is one of the leaders in Siebel CRM. Why I'm saying one of the leaders is this was this actually dates back to some in early 90s, I would say, when Mr. Thomas Siebel, who was an employee of Oracle, as well Oracle employee. So he started building this system, CRM system, and he was working in Oracle, but he came out of Oracle and he started up his own, what you can say, product kind of a thing, and then he marketed this. So that was the origin of this product. Siebel is actually the name of this person, Thomas Siebel. And the CRM which he has built is called a Siebel CRM. And if we go back to what he has initially started up with, it was basically for some of the automobile clients, or I would say, not automobile, I would say airline, air flight, or I would say frequent flyer customers. So basically, he designed this CRM system for the frequent flyers, which basically consists of like in North America, there are a lot of people who regularly go for this one from one city to other using flights, and the air system is too good over there, and so there are a lot of people who travel on a regular basis. So when these people regularly travel, what they wanted to give as an extra or a benefit to the existing customers, these airlines have come back, and that was the business case for building up this CRM system. So what they have started is something called loyalty. Loyalty is nothing but, as you know, now everybody knows what actually loyalty is. But in those days, or I would say sometime in it's around close to 20 plus years back, so that was the fountainhead or thought for starting up of this CRM system. So that is when they started this loyalty program, and then they have built up this whole application, Siebel CRM loyalty application, which actually helped to gain the trust of the customers or the passengers who were traveling. So that's how the actual Siebel CRM system has originated or started, or the build, or I would say it was built. And over these years or over the years, the importance of CRM has grown and people started to understand the purpose of this whole CRM system, and then they started to adapt and adopt also, I would say. So most of the users or consumers or service providers, they never had a user interface which could at a single point of time give them a clearer picture of what actually their whole purchase, sales, or any such details are. And it was majorly in a kind of a workbook or a book sheet or an Excel kind of a document that they were maintaining, which was very tedious, laborious, and all. So when they heard about the CRM system, that's when they they felt elated, and the users or the extra benefits that they come that they are getting out of this whole CRM application or a suite, then they started to understand and then realize that okay, this is what actually the next big thing that they want to have. So that's how this whole CRM system starting build up, and it got spread across different industries, like say be it in the insurance, be it in the finance, be it in the telecom, be it in the airlines or in the automobiles, public sector, whatnot. So it started to spread across all these different industries, and everybody started to reap the benefit of this whole new product called CRM. Okay, so that was just brief about whole Siebel CRM system. Now let me just take you to the next level, which is actually the most interesting part of a Siebel CRM architecture. So when I say something called of an architecture and all, what is the first picture that anybody gets? Like say take the case of an an example of building a tower or a building. So how one goes with that? First of all, he first has to decide what is the location, and then where he wants to set this up, and then he has to build some pillars, and then and some beams, and then the next thing is how you construct the house, and then the last one is how you design your house. So this whole thing will make a good house. In a similar way, even for the Siebel CRM, it's an application. In fact, it's a suite, but at the end of the day, we will be using one particular application for catering our customers' needs. So, how actually an application works? As you all are aware currently, everything that we want to access, it has to be available over the browser. So, when we say the browser, we need to have something starting with www dot. Okay, www dot something dot com. So that's the first one. So once we want an application to be available, that has to have a URL. That's nothing but the URL. Okay. And the next thing is once you click on that URL, you get some screen, something where you see some flashy images or something like that. And after that, you just type something like there will be something called a username, password, and you enter it, and then it takes you to another nice window where you could see a lot of icons, flashy icons, and all that stuff. But this is what we see from a end user perspective. For a end user, when he tries to access a system, he gets to see all this. But from a architecture point of view, there are three major components. One is the web server, which is the one which caters the HTTP request or the user request. This will enable the user to access the application over a browser. Okay. And then the second one, which is the application server or the app tier. We can call it as app tier. So this is the application or the application related logic is being processed in this application tier. So you might ask, what is this application tier and all? So when I am saying that there are different applications available or it's a CRM suite, so there are different features that each of this application needs. Like say for a case of a finance application, you will have an application which actually shows all the screens related to finance. Some basic screens will definitely be there, which will remain the same for any kind of an application. But the flavors or the major, what you can say, screens which are needed from a finance application point of view, this application server actually uh, presents that particular or meets that requirement. Okay, so this is the second application or the second tier. And then the last one that we have is the database tier. Obviously, so where are we going to store all this information? It has to be stored in particular location. We can't store it in our own bank accounts, right? So in order to make sure the information that your application needs or the information that you want to store from any kind of an external system, third party systems, so all that information has to be properly maintained in a particular location. So this particular location is nothing but the database. I think everybody knows what a database is, or if it's I may, if someone may ask me like what a database is, I'll tell you in a two to three sentences. The database is nothing but a location, a storage location where we store the information that we want in a structured manner. Okay. So what is the advantage of this database? Once you log into the database with a particular username and password, you can try to retrieve the information that you're looking at. So in a layman term, this is what is a database. So these are the three main tiers, or I would say the whole CRM architecture is a three-tier application architecture. So these are the main three areas. Now let me just go through a small document. So if you can see my screen, sorry for the delay. Yeah. So the same thing, whichever I have mentioned here, it is being represented in pictures or this is a small pictorial representation of the whole architecture. So as I told, the first tier is the web server, the second is the application tier, and then at the end we have the Siebel database, which is nothing but the DB. Okay. But there are a lot of arrows currently that you guys see. I'll come to them at a later stage. Okay. So this is a basic architecture. Okay. So now when I said Siebel CRM is a three-tier architecture and something, probably that's something new that people might have heard for the first time. So basically for any kind of an application, be it for an open source application, like even kind of a Java, in say Java or anything, so you'll have some core file that actually reads all the information that you want to be displayed in the UI. So that's something called as a web archive file in terms of the Java or any such technologies. Similarly, we have something called SRF. So this SRF file is the Siebel repository file, which actually resides in the Siebel. There's something called Siebel repository. I'll come to you at a later stage. So that repository, it's just a small file which is in the Siebel repository, but my Siebel server, it actually accesses that SRF file and make sure your application is available and all the logic which you want to be performing or want to showcase, all those are available with that small file. So actually Siebel CRM or any CRM of Siebel, it comes with some out of the box features. So OOTB, which usually call or the vanilla. So what happens is, so when we want to just plug and play any of the Siebel CRM application, we can just start using the out of the box features whichever we get from the package itself. Okay. Even these details probably I'll get into or I'll give more details at a later stage. So in a nutshell, Siebel CRM architecture basically consists of three tiers: web server tier, application tier, and then the Siebel database tier. Okay. Now we can take a next step, or we can go a bit deeper into what we actually want. Okay. So once we said that we want to set up a CRM system, okay. So as you know, this whole CRM application, Siebel CRM application, can be deployed across any kind of an operating system. When I said any kind of an operating system, what are all the available operating systems currently? Like say Windows, Linux, Red Hat Enterprise Linux, okay, Sun Solaris, IBM AX. So these are few of the flavors of Unix, but we can call them as a Unix operating systems and Windows operating systems. Okay, so we can download the particular OS related software, install it, and then we can start using the application. Sounds simple, right? Yes. So this way, we can make sure we can start plug and play this whole Siebel CRM application. From I would say from an overview point of view. But how we do all those things, and is there any specific network requirement, any database requirements, any other requirements that we have? Yes, there are some specific requirements for all this, and we'll come to it at a later stage. Based on how we or which operating system we want and what all ways we want to do our setups and how many environments that we want. Okay, so all this we'll discuss at a later stage, but the basic architecture will always remain the same. And mind you, this whole web server, Siebel, and database, those were the same, or I would say this web server related information, the web server integrations and all, they were same till a particular version which is called IP16. IP16 was the innovation pack 16. 16 actually denotes the year when that particular CRM version was released. So till IP16, there was a separate web server that needs to be installed and app server and database. They were always separate, right? But from IP17, which is Innovation Pack 17, Oracle has done some changes in this whole architecture point of view, and they removed this dependency of this external web server. Okay, and they have started to create or incorporate something called AI, which is called the application interface layer. Okay, so from 17 to the current version, which is 21.9 or something. I think I remember. It doesn't matter, but the current all the latest versions after IP17, they are third party web server independent now, which means we can go ahead and use our regular Oracle provided web servers and they can start using it. Okay, so this is about the whole architecture. And yes, when we say an architecture, this varies from environment to environment. What you might ask, what do you mean by environment? See, a typical software lifecycle has has to go through different phases. Like one is called the development phase, and then the next one is the testing phase, and after that we have something called UAT phase, and then the go live phase. So all these environments may look alike but vary. The reason being the development environment, for example, is an environment where all the development keeps on going, like all the core team who are involved in doing all the customizations and making the regular changes or as per the client requirement, they'll be doing all the development. And coming to the test environment, so whatever changes that have been made in the development environment, they'll be pushed in this test environment. And that's where all the test cases are being executed for all the functionalities or the requirements as a part of this whole execution. That will be done. And then the next one is the UAT, user acceptance test. This is also another environment, but this environment will have integrations with all the other third-party systems. Like say if we have another system like an OBI or probably SOA. SOA is a middleware. So if we have all kind of such integrations, this environment will have all these integrations, and we make sure all the test cases are executed in such a way that all the integrations are working properly. That's an UAT environment. And then coming to the pre-prod environment, which is nothing but a replica of our actual production environment. Production is nothing but the environment which is live, which is what the actual customer wants to be, or the customer or the service provider wants to have that application to be up and running, where he actually wants to deliver this whole functionality or the new features to the end user. So this pre-prod environment will be nothing but a replica of the production environment, but with lesser capability, capacities. I will not say, sorry, it's a wrong usage. Capacity. Like say for the production environment, we have around 4 web servers and 6 Siebel app servers and 2 database servers. The pre-prod might have half or half of it, like say 2 web servers, 4 app servers, and 1 database server. Okay, but the major point here is with each of these environments, the setups will vary, and undoubtedly the production environment is the environment which has to be available 24/7, 365 days. And mind you, this also depends on the kind of an application that we want to enable. Like there are some finance applications, banking applications, okay, banking and finance applications, which need to be available 24/7, because we never know when a customer or an account holder tries to access an application, and what if that doesn't work at some point of time, say midnight, he tries to access the application, but that was not available. That should not be case. Or probably you might have seen in your own cases, like you might have done some transactions, but the transactions did not complete, and the money got deducted, but you will be in a fix, right? That should not be the case here. The application should be available 24/7, 365 days, and make sure all the resources are available, like you're working or trying to access the application around 9 o'clock in the morning, even at midnight, at any point of time, it should be available. So that's how the production criticality wise the environment happens. Now I'll give you another scenario of another application, like the loyalty application. Loyalty application doesn't need to be available 24/7. The reason being, the whole process of creating this loyalty or the rewards, all these happens in a batch mode. When I say batch mode, it happens overnight. So say suppose you have done a transaction of some say 1,000 rupees today with some particular credit card. Okay. So with this whole transaction, probably based on whatever reward system that has been in place with your card, you should get some, say suppose 2 or 3 points, or say 10 points. But that may not get reflected immediately, and there's no urgency for it. So at the end of the day, all such kind of transactions will be consolidated, and then they are processed in the CRM system. And probably the next day when you log into your application and you check it out, you'll be able to see the points got credited. So the criticality of the application is one key factor here that I wanted to convey. I think I've started with what CRM is all about, and how the architecture is, and what are the different kinds of environments that we actually wanted to set up, or kind of environments that are available. And I think I've covered enough about CRM administration, and from an architecture point of view. If you guys still have any doubts, you can just reach out to me. I can give you loads and loads of examples and information regarding what all this about. And I bet you it's so interesting. And it becomes more interesting once you start doing these setups or getting your hands dirty. Okay, the more you get involved in this setup and all, and the more you play around with this whole application and all, you will get to know more things. Okay. Hope I have given enough for today. Thank you guys. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me. Thank you.